Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. We are here with Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you. Thank you as always.
We'll get straight into it. So there's been a lot going on. The main thing is Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to take 25% in Manchester United. Do you have any idea when that announcement could be made? I think a lot of United fans are waiting on that.
Yes, I think it will be this week. It won't be today. This is the information that's coming from people close to INEOS Group, but should be in the next couple of days. So it's now just a matter of time, and then it will be official. I think this week is the expectation to make it official and complete the formal process, but there are no doubts. It's just about announcing, and everything is obviously completed.
Yeah, I mean, and there's rumours as well that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's looking for a CEO, a director of football, maybe even an understudy for a director of football. Do you know how soon them appointments will be made and what personnel that is being looked at for them roles?
Yeah, how soon it depends on the process. So for sure they are speaking to candidates. They are discussing internally. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, also people close to him in the INEOS Group, taking part to this kind of meetings to discuss who is the best candidate for any position. There will be a big change in the board. I think this is part of the strategy for INEOS Group to show that, yes, they buy just the 25% of Manchester United, but they want to have an impact with the sporting control. So we know that many fans probably wanted the Qatari group, but they were a bit disappointed when we had the news that they were going to leave the conversations to buy Man United. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to send a strong message by changing things into the board, changing the process, for example, the club when it's time to sign new players, to decide on the strategies. This is a crucial part of the process for Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So new CEO for sure is one of the priorities. And from what I told Jean-Claude Blanc, former Juventus and PSG CEO, is the big candidate, is something already at very advanced stages. I think we can say is 90% Jean-Claude Blanc, the candidate to become the new CEO. It's just about the final parts to be discussed, and then it could be completed. With big experience, he did an incredible job at Juventus, helping them to rebuild in a complicated moment for the club, and then they won the Serie A title for like 9 years in a row. The Paris Saint-Germain, he helped them to get an international dimension, complicated moment for the club also in that case. So Jean-Claude Blanc has a lot of experience, and I think it could be an excellent choice for Man United. And then the sporting director is another crucial position. They are discussing with some candidates. Nothing is done. Paul Mitchell remains one of the favorite candidates, but is not done in this case. There's still a discussion ongoing. So there are multiple candidates. They want to keep things as secret as possible because they know that in this part of the process it's really important to have discussions to decide on the best person for the future of Manchester United. So conversations are ongoing, but I think soon there will be a new CEO and a new sporting director.
That's very good news for Man United fans, and obviously even for you in the transfer windows. Hopefully you might see something a little bit different. But Paul Mitchell, obviously, he's been spoken about as a very big candidate to come in as a sporting director. I know nothing's confirmed, but when he brings in a new sporting director and even the CEO, is Sir Jim Ratcliffe going to evaluate Erik ten Hag's position, and will a decision be made on his future, or is he quite safe right now?
No, the moment from what I'm hearing is very safe. He doesn't want to change everything, and he knows that Erik ten Hag did a very good job last season at Man United, and this season really unlucky with the injuries. And of course, he has his own responsibilities, but at the same time, was a really complicated beginning of the season in general at Manchester United. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe has a lot of experience and knows very well how this takeover story for the whole year created a problem at Manchester United, because the position of many people in the board has always been in danger. Was not an easy summer, was not an easy January transfer window last year. So the whole season was also having an impact from this situation of the owner. So now to have Sir Jim Ratcliffe in control, new people into the board, will be also important for Erik ten Hag to have the full control at the club and to keep going as he did in recent months, to decide together with the board, but with new people in charge. So I think at the moment everything is safe for ten Hag. Of course, they want to see results, and so he will be judged as all the managers in the world based on results in the next months, but is nothing imminent. I don't see any change in the next couple of weeks or months, because the idea is to support Erik ten Hag and to create a structure around him.
That's music to my ears. I want to see how that does develop. I mean, I want to get some clarification on a few players that seems like the future's maybe up in the air a little bit of Man United. Varane, Martial and Casemiro, they've all been linked to Saudi. Is there potential that maybe any of them could leave in January? And are they expected to leave relatively soon, maybe within the next year for Man United?
Yeah, I think for Casemiro, it's a bit too much what we're seeing in the media. Okay, it was not the best moment for Casemiro in his career. He also had this injury, but at the same time, we still remember how important he was for Man United last season. So I think they will take some time before telling Casemiro, okay, you have to leave the club. It's not something decided, and again, the new director will be really important, because the new sporting director will decide together with Erik ten Hag. There will be a new board, new people deciding. So we have to wait and see what kind of vision they will have at Man United. But in general, I think for Casemiro is not something imminent. For Rafa Varane, the interest from Saudi is there since June, July. In the summer, they wanted to sign Varane from Saudi, but Varane didn't even want to have a negotiation. He wanted to stay in Europe. He wanted to stay in Man United to fight in Premier League, in the best league in the world. And so for Rafa Varane was not the case to discuss with Saudi clubs. Now, let's see what happens in January. But at the moment, I'm not aware of anything advanced yet. So the interest, yes, but on player side, the focus is still on the present. And for Anthony Martial to be different, because obviously he's a player that for Man United remains in the same position in terms of list on the transfer market as always. In case they receive a good proposal, he could leave. That's a possibility. Otherwise, he will be part of the rotation. So I think it will depend on the opportunities, on the possibilities. There are many clubs looking for strikers in January. And so I will keep the situation open for Martial, because he could be part of a domino effect of strikers around Europe, for example, in Italy, in England, or in other countries.
And then with Sancho, if he leaves in January, which I think is expected now, will Man United look to bring in another winger, or do you think they'll use that maybe to go for a different position?
I think the priority will be the centre-back. So I think on the winger, it will depend on many things. If they can find an opportunity, what Erik ten Hag wants to do, the development of Pellistri, for example. There are many, many things to discuss internally before saying, okay, let's go and sign a new winger. So at the moment, the focus, from what I'm told, is on centre-back. Man United are having meetings with agents, are discussing also internally, waiting for the new director, but with Erik ten Hag involved in this process to decide also with the scouting department to find the best centre-back for Man United. They need something in that position. Then I think for January, it will depend on what kind of opportunities they can find on the market, on the recovery process for Lisandro. So there are many factors to have an impact on the January signing. Let's see if it's going to be an opportunity, maybe on loan with an option to buy, or a super important player, but it's not easy to find that kind of players in January. In any case, from what I'm told, Man United, January or summer, will sign a top centre-back, a really important one, and is part of the plans for the future. So I think it would be summer, maybe not January, but the new centre-back will be a very important one.
Well, we've been linked to Todibo quite a lot, who obviously plays at Nice, so it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe has involvement with. So is Todibo at the top of the list? Is there any other names that you could maybe tell us in that area?
Is one of the names for sure, Todibo, because Man United already had very positive discussions on player side last summer. Then the player was super expensive because, for example, Juventus approached Nice for Todibo in July, and the request was something around 45-50 million euros. So it was way too much. And also for Man United, the problem last summer was the Harry Maguire story. Maguire was very close to joining West Ham, of course, and in that moment, Man United had some conversations to sign a new centre-back. Then Maguire ended up staying at Man United, and so they had no budget to bring in a new centre-back on a permanent transfer. But Todibo remains a player that they really, really appreciate. They're still following him, they're still tracking him, and so I'm sure that Todibo will be in the list. Antonio Silva from Benfica is another player they are following closely. Many times Man United scouts have been around in Portugal to follow many players like João Neves, like Antonio Silva, so they are keeping an eye on him. And then let's see also for other potential names, because, for example, Tapsoba at Bayer Leverkusen is a player that they are also following. He was in the list of Tottenham last summer, then he did a move, he extended the contract at Bayer Leverkusen. I don't see him leaving in January. Honestly, I think it will be really difficult to convince Bayer Leverkusen, but Tapsoba is another player that they are following. So I think these are the names at the moment, but I would keep that open because, when a new sporting director is coming in, they can decide, they have their own ideas, and so it could change the whole strategy.
Yeah, I've also seen us been linked to João Neves, of course, who was with Bruno at Portugal. Antonio Griezmann recently has been linked to Man United. Apparently, Man United want to triple his wage, which would be so Man United at his age as well. Andre, a midfielder from Flamenco, has also been linked to us. Is there anything you can tell us on them three players?
So for Andre, nothing concrete at this point. Nothing has been decided on the player side. He's taking some time before deciding his future. So Andre is not something happening now or imminent. And for the other names you mentioned, for Griezmann, I want to clarify that Griezmann is not leaving Atletico Madrid. So from what I'm told, he's in love with Atletico Madrid, with the city, the fans, the teammates, the coach Simeone. So he's not leaving. He was approached by Saudi clubs in the summer, and he decided to reject, not even to negotiate, because he was in love with Atletico Madrid life. And so I don't think he's going to be tempted by any opportunity around Europe, especially in January. So Griezmann, no. And the other name was João Neves, and for João Neves is different. João Neves is a player who is very well known by Manchester United scouting department. He's a player they really appreciate. there are many clubs following him, not just Man United. But Man United have been there quite a lot because they're following, as I mentioned before, Antonio Silva, João Neves, many Benfica talents. And Joao is really appreciated. I think it's very difficult to sign him in January, also because it's a tough season for Benfica in Champions League. I don't see them selling a key player like Joao in the January window. But for the summer, João Neves could be one to watch because he's very talented. That could be part of a restyling in the midfield with a talented player like him. I can't hear you now. I don't know why.
Oh, I was muted.
Okay. No, yes.
Sorry. I said that João Neves is super talented. So whoever does manage to get him will be getting a good talent. But Man United haven't been the best at getting them players. But we'll have to wait and see. Lastly, I kind of just wanted to ask you about a striker in January. We've been linked to one, especially with, obviously, Højlund's not got any Premier League goals yet, but he's doing really well in the Champions League. Looks like Man United might be looking for a striker. Obviously, I'm going to ask this question, but I think I know the answer. Osimhen, a possibility with Sir Jim, or unable due to financial fair play? Obviously, his future's up in the air with Napoli, and just a striker in general for January.
I think even with the Qataris, Osimhen was almost impossible in January because of Napoli. Napoli are having a very difficult season, and they changed the manager a couple of days ago, and they are not selling Victor Osimhen in January. This is their position. They are sending a very clear message in public, but also in private. They don't want to sell Osimhen in January, and I think they could sell Osimhen in the summer transfer window. So I think only crazy, but really crazy proposal could change the situation, and I think it's going to be very complicated to sign Victor Osimhen for any club in January, not just for Man United. In the summer, it could be very different because at the moment there is no agreement between Osimhen and Napoli on contract extension. And on the striker in general, first of all, I have a feeling that Man United really want to back and protect Rasmus Højlund. So to put a new striker, to put him in competition with one more striker, could be a problem. They invested big money on Rasmus Højlund, and they're very happy with him, with his potential. It's true that he's not scoring in Premier League, but in Champions League he's doing great. They are convinced that it's just a matter of time he starts scoring goals also in Premier League, so they're not worried about that, and they remain convinced of Rasmus Højlund as a top striker for the future. So I think the striker situation could only change in case they decide to sell Anthony Martial. In that case, for Man United, also in terms of number of players they need in that position, there is a chance to look at the market for a new striker. But in case Martial is staying, I'm not sure there is going to be a concrete possibility to bring in a new centre striker.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the case, sadly, as much as I want Osimhen at Man United. But lastly, I wanted to kind of ask you, Bruno to Saudi Arabia rumours. I mean, I'm pretty sure he shut these down in the past, but is that something that could potentially happen? I know that they're very interested in him.
Yeah, they have big interest in Bruno. This is for sure, but they have big interest in many players. So if we have to go there and put a big story on every single player who is of interest of Saudi clubs, it would be probably 10 stories per day. At the moment, there is nothing else. Bruno, as he said, he's very happy at Man United. He feels really proud to be the captain. He's not even tempted. He's not even open to negotiating at the moment. So from what I'm hearing, for Bruno, there is nothing at all. Nothing will happen in January because for sure Bruno is only focused on Man United. Then in the future, never say never, because we see how the Saudi League are going very strong for many players. But for the January transfer window, nothing at all. And I can guarantee that the only focus of Bruno is on Man United. I think we have these links because his agent is very well connected in Saudi. So he did many deals there. And that's why probably we have all these links. But Bruno's position is very clear in public, in private, from people close to him. He wants to focus on Man United and to win titles for Man United.
That's very good news for me. And sorry, I just forgot to ask this. Andre Onana, any injury update on him? I know he got injured during Cameroon, but we're hoping he's going to be okay.
Look, what I tweeted, I think it was 2-3 days ago, is still the same. I was asking again today, and I'm told that it's nothing serious. So I think Andre Onana will be available. Let's see if we're ready for the weekend game. But I think in general, it's not going to be something serious. Onana is fit and ready to play for Man United very soon. No worries.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Fabrizio. Thank you for your time and have a lovely day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, and see you soon. Thanks a lot, as always, for the invitation.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Well, everyone, that was Fabrizio Romano talking all things Man United transfers. Let me change the overlay quickly with you, get back into the comments. People were asking me why I asked about Bruno to Saudi. I put a tweet out earlier asking people what they wanted to know, and that was one of the things that came up. I think we learned quite a lot from that Romano video, and I'm just going to wrap it up a little bit for you. I won't spend too much time, but I just wanted to kind of go through the key points. Thank you, everyone, for joining and sticking through the interview as well. Hit a like on the video if you enjoyed that with Romano. But talking about Sir Jim and the director of football, the CEO, Claude Blanc is going to come in. I'm pretty sure. Obviously, Romano said they're 90% certain that he's going to come in. It's 90% done. Romano wouldn't say that if it wasn't very, very close. So I do really think that Jean-Claude Blanc is going to come into Manchester United as CEO. And I've just seen someone in the chat say Beth for CEO. Trust me, Claude Blanc will do a very good job. I have been researching Claude Blanc. When he first cropped up as a name, I'm going to be honest, I'm not completely well-versed in all of the CEOs around Europe for different clubs, but I've done my research on him, as I should when I'm coming on the United stand quite often. But I've done my research on Claude Blanc, and the stuff that he's done in his career is very, very positive. And to go from Richard Arnold to Claude Blanc, I think he's going to be a mega improvement. Of course, that's not the only improvement that we can make. We've got to look at the director of football. We've got to look at the scouting network. We've got to look at all these things. But don't be surprised if Claude Blanc comes in, Paul Mitchell comes in, our transfers are better, the footballing side of things works more efficiently, and suddenly you start seeing Erik ten Hag look like a better manager because it's a team effort. So really excited about that. Paul Mitchell obviously looks close. Romano saying that as well. He also said that there's some names that they're trying to keep quiet. So maybe we'll get some surprises in there. Obviously, the announcement is going to come at some point this week. I can't wait for that because hopefully we'll get some sort of statement to understand how it's going to work. So some point this week, but it won't be today. 90% Club, someone just said in the chats, we need to get 90% Club t-shirts printed. I'm going to get on to Goldbridge about that. We'll definitely try and get some of them t-shirts done because it needs to happen. The 90% Club it's a famous club here on the United stand. Also talking about Varane, Martial and Casemiro. Casemiro, I don't think is going anywhere. Might move on in the summer. Depends on Manu's progress and also just depends if we go for another central defensive midfielder. Varane, from the way Romano talked about it, obviously he's in conversations with these agents quite a lot. Varane at the moment is putting it out there that he's completely focused on United. But I do think there's a slight chance we might see Varane move on, especially if we get another centre-back in January. If we wait till summer, as Romano said, we will definitely sign. If we don't sign in January, we'll definitely sign a really important centre-back in the summer. If we wait till the summer, I do think Varane will go. I could see us signing 2 centre-backs. I could see us signing 2 in the summer, maybe 1 in January and 1 in the summer. Maguire, I still think, might go. And I also still think when you look at Varane, he's going to leave. I don't think he can be happy right now playing second fiddle to Harry Maguire at Manchester United. So I do think he will move on eventually. And Martial, I think, as well, is just, I think he'll be here until his contract runs out, which is quite soon, actually, and he'll probably end up leaving on a free. Then you move on to the likes of Todibo. I think that's a nailed-on signing for Manchester United. He's at Nice. Erik ten Hag really likes him, and we've been linked to him for a while. Sir Jim's obviously got the involvement. He literally runs Nice. So I think Todibo is pretty nailed on. Whether it'll happen in January, I'm not too sure. I can see us having a pretty stale January still. But at the same time, Sir Jim probably is going to want to make a little bit of an impact to the fans. So it's an interesting... Our centre-back situation, like you all say in the chat, is a really interesting one. Edwina says, I think Lindelof might move on as well. I don't think Lindelof will move on. I think Lindelof will stay. And I think if we can get him to stay, that'd be great. Because I think as a rotational centre-back, he knows his place. He's not going to be a first choice. But as a rotation player, I think he's an excellent player to have in your armour to be rotation. You know, he's even filled in at fullback a couple of times. He's multifunctional and he does the job. I think Maguire could definitely move on despite how well he's doing. And I think he probably should. I think Varane will end up going. You know, Martinez, love him to bits, but he's a little bit injury prone. I think our defence really does need a revamp. So I think we need to sign at least 2 centre-backs, whether it's 1 in January or 1 in the summer or 2 in the summer. From what Romano said, he wasn't giving too much away about January. One thing I will say as well is the striker situation. I don't think we'll buy one. I really don't. And if we do, I feel like it'll be an Ighalo type signing, to be honest, or something really last minute, an older player on loan. Or it'll be a loan signing. Taremi, a lot of you guys were saying in the chat, I don't see it, but I think it'd be good to bring in with someone with experience. I don't think we'll sign a striker in January. I think we could potentially get a centre-back. Don't think we'll get a striker, unfortunately. And I know Romano said it's to back Højlund, but for me, Højlund could benefit by having some of the workload taken off his back, and also he could benefit by having a more experienced striker there. Somebody says something like Weghorst. Probably, yeah. And would you take that? Is that how low our standards have dropped? In January, I won't be surprised if it happened. But I do think you need an option. It's like Højlund. We don't know how long he's injured for now. Hopefully it's not too long. I think I've just seen an update come out on Twitter from Insider United saying that it was around that they're hoping he's going to be okay, but he might miss 1 or 2 games. Even that right now is a little bit of a struggle for us. We've got Martial, and I think Martial's more than capable, by the way. I don't think he's like top level striker, but I think he's capable. But how long before Martial gets injured when he's playing full games? He's not been injured in a while, but that's because he's playing from the bench. So we need another striker. So I don't that excuse doesn't cut it for me that they want to back Højlund. I think you can back Højlund as well as provide extra support in that area as well. João Neves, again, got a good relationship with Bruno Fernandes, has a €100 million release clause that Man United are not going to meet. Maybe in the future. But get your opinions in on João Neves actually as well. With João Neves, would you want to invest €100 million on that player? He's 19 years old, playing at Benfica. I always like players that come through the Portuguese league. I don't know why, but they always seem to go on and have good careers in the Premier League. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've had Ruben Dias come through there. You've had Ruben Dias come through there. You've had Bruno Fernandes come through there. You've got the likes of João Felix who's come through there. I mean, Lindelof came from, was it Benfica? Did he come from Benfica? He might have done. I can't remember, but there's been a lot of players that come through the Portuguese league that are of a high level. So I do like that league. João Neves looks good, but then I've seen a lot of people say he's a very similar type player to what we have in Manu, and Manu's coming through and is going to be developed. João Neves is just getting that experience as well. João Neves is getting that experience because Benfica are playing him. Manu isn't being played. So do you invest in that same position? Dangor as well coming from our academy. But João Neves looks absolutely exceptional. And the fact that he's playing with Portugal as well is brilliant. But Onana as well, brilliant stuff that he looks like he's going to be back and ready to be in action. I know a few people will be disappointed in that because they want to see Binder. I want to see Onana continue. Hopefully he'll be all good. But let me know your opinions on João Neves and who you would sign for Manchester United in the January transfer window. And are you excited for INEOS and Sir Jim? Are you worried about this takeover? Get your thoughts in the comments. I heard someone say then, oh, obviously Ronaldo came through the Portuguese league, obviously, and he's obviously one of the greatest players that's ever been in the game. But get your opinions in. Make sure you like the video on your way out. Someone said on João Neves can't afford to miss out on another Jude Bellingham opportunity. Is that really how you should be moving in the windows? I'm not sure. Get your opinions in. Thank you for joining for this interview, everyone, and we will see you shortly. Mark will be back with the 8 p.m. show, and any breaking news we'll bring to you here on the United Stand. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.